Sarah Smith in the house, everybody.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much
Hello.
for nearly bullying me onto this. I'm so
I plead guilty and no
excited.
regrets. So, yes, this week is going to be so awesome because this is so in line with all of the stuff that I love talking about, where there is something about our lives that worked for a while, and then for one reason or another, it just stops. It could be something in our bodies, something in our careers, something in our relationships. It's a story we've been telling ourselves. And so today is a wonderful version of the feral era for women over 40. And for this week's fast, fun, ferociously unfiltered weekly conversation, we have the amazing Sarah Smith, who is the Chief Innovation Officer, for a conversation about invisible operating systems, over functioning, and why the habits that made us successful can quietly become the ones that are keeping us stuck. So, welcome, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, you picked growth as your word of the week. So tell me a little bit about like why that conversation feels especially relevant for women over 40.
I think so. I picked this word at the beginning of the year as like a word to kind of glom onto, and it was
Mm,
actually in tandem with growth and build because I think it's like growth is something I'm intentionally doing, but I'm also taking that growth and building something with it. And I'm building myself. I'm investing in myself and my business, and I'm learning different things and new things. And so I'm
mm,
intentionally taking that growth. And one of the things is like I started an online MBA program. So I'm growing there and expanding there. And I think for me, it's just understanding that growth doesn't stop after like you get out of in your 20s or 30s, like it keeps going. And I think being
mhm,
intentional about it and understanding that growth also comes with uncomfortableness in
mm.
many forms. That's a big one for me.
Well, and growth doesn't necessarily have to mean comfortable, and it typically does not, because our brains do not want us to grow. They want us to have us in a routine that is predictable and safe, and so that we are, by golly, and anything different than that like status quo that we've been living in, our brains will try and shut that shit down all day long because it's like danger, Will Robinson, danger. You are trying to change the operating system, and that is not who we are. And what's really hard is that a lot of us go into that like robot mode, where we're just like, day in, day out, who am I? Am I even visible in my own life? And so trying to like come back alive to ourselves or come back home to ourselves, our brains can be like, no, that's different. That's scary. Go away. There's a tiger trying to eat your face. You're going to die. And so for us to try and find evidence that feels safe enough that our brains can trust that is really important. So can you think of a season like in your own world where you were trying to maybe become a better version of who you already were, and then only to realize you needed to become like maybe somebody different instead?
you know, pardon me. And at the beginning of the pandemic, my husband and I were like, haha, all these people getting pregnant. So funny. And then we were part of that problem. And like we had just been talking about like we're gonna freeze my eggs. We're waiting a little bit. I was like, I think I got married in my early 30s. And so then boom, we're pregnant. And I was like, oh, so it's now, you know?
Yes.
And I it was like that was a big shift for me of like, I am gonna be like somebody is going to be my child and I'm going to be a mother, which was also really weird. So that's probably one of the most probably the largest and most recent ones of like changing.
Hmm.
And I never thought I'd be a mom. I never thought I'd do that. But also, like when I started this business, it was like I just got done. I got done with dealing with not having any kind of safety net from a corporate lifestyle. And I wanted to take a little bit more into my own hands of
Yeah.
like, yeah, your own destiny, or at
Yeah.
least have something where you're able to pivot from.
Well, and there's such an ironic truth in what you're saying, because so many people they stay in the corporate rat race because they think that it's somehow more consistent. They think it's somehow safer. And yet, like, I think if COVID taught us anything, that it is like, there's no such thing as a safety net, and the only thing that we can do is actually build our own and what that can look like for us. And I know that when I went out on my own, it's been like a year and a half now because I started in January of 2025. Like, the C-suite. I left the safety of the six-figure income, not knowing, what the next day was going to look like, and yet that that changed the trajectory of my life because I was willing to bet on me, and and damn it, we're the ones who have been with us and like been enduring all these years anyway. And so, um, the whole idea of corporate safety is just, you know, ha ha ha.
It's a myth, and it's gotten way worse over the last, like, I don't know, 10 years maybe.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's like you see these like massive layoffs and again and again and again.
Yes.
You see the green banners on LinkedIn. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, when I tell people like how are you thinking about side hustles? And it's not even that. It's like it's become a necessity almost.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And yet with the side hustle, I mean, one of the things that happens biologically as we grow older is like the need for self-alignment trumps the need for the outside external approval. And so the idea of a side hustle becoming then your whole self, like very few of us are in corporate America and feel that integration that we do when we're embracing the entrepreneurial like way of life. Like we really do like live and breathe everything, and the idea of siloing parts of our identity is as much of a myth as being able to say, oh, I'm multitasking, like it's a great concept, but like
yeah,
kind of, a little sci-fi, a little, fantasy, a little, yeah. So
yeah.
you,
I mean, I was a VP at a pre-construction software company, and I don't know how I could necessarily make my personal mission align with theirs. I'd
exactly,
never been in
yeah.
construction. So, I mean, I understand like one of my main goals is just helping people's lives be easier.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like why I do ops is to like make sure you're not wasting your time, energy, and money on things that don't help you in the end.
Hmm.
So, but that's, what I'm doing is it how many lives is it really changing and touching truly at the end of the day in
Yeah.
corporate?
You talked about ops, and I know that you said that like growth eventually breaks the systems that created it. So like what's the human version of that? How do we know when we've outgrown a way of living before we necessarily have like the words for it?
For me, it manifests a lot in like rage
Nice.
in a lot of ways. But I think it's like something's, it's like an itchiness or something where
Hmm.
it's like something's not right. And in engineering, you call that a smell.
Call it a
Um,
what?
a smell in engineering.
Smell.
Yeah, we're like there's
Okay.
a smell there, like something's not right.
Okay. All right. My
And
sister's an
it,
engineer. I'm just going to drop that into the conversation and be like,
please do. Yeah,
yeah.
let me know how it goes. Like
Okay.
there's a called a code smell usually, but that may
Okay.
be old news with AI, but it's like when I was working with a lot of tech and engineering teams that, yeah, there's a smell, right? And so
Okay.
something's not right, it's not fitting right. And so what do you need to do? And what
A
I've
rotten
been
egg
doing,
smell.
maybe a lot of sulfur. But what I've been
Mm.
doing is working a lot on like journaling and getting back into that practice and
Mm.
like trying to do some actual prompts around it of like, okay, like what's not working? What feels like it's breaking? Does
Yeah.
something feel like it's breaking?
Yeah. And we have agency over that. We can decide whether we want to stay curious and follow that itch. Like me, like I have over the last couple years, every time I have salmon, like I start to get the itch in the back of my throat. Has it made me stop eating salmon because I think that I may be developing a slight allergy? No, because I love salmon. It's
Obviously
just so
not.
delicious. So why would salmon
Yes.
betray me like that? But it I do have agency over that, but I am very well aware of that. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah. So
Hmm.
and as many of us, like, just in general, let's say, like, so many of us are good at, like, being the ones, especially, like, women, when we're balancing life and professions and offspring and, bodies and hormones and all of that good stuff, like, we hold everything together, and we kind of become the one that people go to whenever everything's on fire, and
Yeah.
so I'm just like, at some point that becomes then the source of also what's keeping us stuck. It's like being the master of everything, the go-to person for everything. So like how do we realize like where that juxtaposition is of like I am the center of my own problems. Like I am
Well,
the one in the center of getting in my own way because I have been the solution person for the entire universe.
that is, God, that's such a good question. And it's something like in my household I've pushed back against
Mm,
repeatedly. And like now I feel like I'm the bum parent where I'm like, oh, they call my husband for everything. And he's like doing everything. And I'm like, what happened? When did that happen? And so I'm like, and it's made our marriage like 1,000 times better when it's like, man, am I pulling my weight? You know? But he's such a, he's truly a partner.
yeah,
He's such a great partner, but it took time and work and commitment and
yeah.
like conversations that were happening every single week. But when I'm thinking about like in a workspace, I ask a lot of questions and
Hmm.
I prompt people and I don't necessarily jump to do something for anybody
Yeah.
anymore because a lot of times people are very capable. And
Oh, yeah. And that's, that's the thing about like one of the key differences between like a lot of people see coaching and therapy as not that much different, but insurance covers one and not the other. And
truly,
so, and yet, like counseling often helps me get new perspectives, new frameworks, new understanding. Like they both serve purpose. I'm a big fan of both. Go
hmm
team. But the concept in coaching is that like you already know it. You just haven't learned to trust that part of yourself. You just need to like learn how to do that. And I think that when you build in those systems of process, those prompts that you put in for yourself, not just like your household, but just for the way you like process thoughts and connect information, like um they're like one of the questions that I sent you was like when optimizing everything leaves no room for curiosity, joy, or surprise, but but also like if you don't have those systems in place, you're never going to have time for curiosity, joy, or surprise.
and that's funny. It's like, where does the magic take place if there's automation everywhere?
Yeah.
And I say, don't automate the thought away. Do it so that you're automating those routine things
Ooh.
that don't actually help you.
Yeah.
And so I liken it to like Steve Jobs wore basically the same outfit every day.
Yeah.
And so because it takes away a part of like that
Decision
processing.
fatigue. Yeah.
Yeah. And you only have, and a lot of people who are neurodivergent talk about like how many spoons do they have throughout a day.
Yeah.
And it can
Chronically
change.
ill, bad A Spoonie here, so I get
Yep.
that. Yep.
Yep. And so, and I'm one of those people where it's like, if I have to think about what's for dinner, I'm not doing it.
Hmm.
Like, I got 2 kids to feed and a husband, and like we got to have something to put in our bodies. So
Yep.
sometimes it's going to be a snack plate for all of us.
Yeah. Charcuterie, okay, then it
Yeah.
becomes like on point, yes, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love that. My partner that I work with in academic medicine strategy group, like literally, I'm like always looking for like the most pink thing ever, and she's like black V-neck t-shirt, like that is her go-to.
Yep.
And some people might think that she only has one because like that's literally all you see her. But I know for a fact, that she's got like 10 of these fuckers just sitting around in a closet, just
Ah,
ready to go at any time. And it's the same. My son is neurodivergent. This is where we can really learn from people who are no more, like, because they are operating system geniuses.
yeah, they are.
Because he has literally had the same haircut, like the same frame of glasses, like that is his comfort place. That is his special, like, superpower. So I love that. And I'm the same way about dinner. Like if I can't figure out how to have food on the table in 15 minutes, we're ordering something. Like that's just
100%.
it's a rule. Like I can't break. I don't make the rules. I can't help it. So
I
yeah.
know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, we've got like some dinner plans that, just like Coach Boone said in Remember the Titans, we got 7 plays for him. I'm like, no, the game works every time, you know?
Oh. So you work a lot with organizations and you help them make their like invisible operating systems visible. Like you are the
Yeah.
flashlight of knowledge and efficiency. Like what's one
Yeah.
invisible operating system that you think women over 40 are maybe using that we need to maybe call out or question or challenge more?
I think just holding it all together It's like
Mhm.
the invisible laborers of everything, the invisible architects. Um, I don't, and maybe this is different now that it's, a different era, but especially when I was coming up in corporate America, it was like, oh, Sarah, will you take notes? And now we have AI note takers, right? And it's funny that all of our AI note takers seem to be named like Jane or whatever, right? They're female
Mm.
names, it seems like, and our agents. But it's like, yeah, don't just what I usually do, I ask, oh, can somebody take notes? And I will usually pass it to somebody who doesn't usually take notes so that they're engaged. But if I don't have an AI note taker, right? But
Mhm.
I think it's pushing back on creating like that responsibility. Like
Mm.
if there's a meeting that's happening, for example, and this, I'm in a lot of meetings, and so this is why I bring it up.
Just brag
But
about it, why don't you? You know?
yeah, love meetings. No actual work gets done, but it's great. But yeah, action items come up. What are the action items? What are we taking away from this? What did we
Yeah.
solve here? And just saying, like, yeah, if there's not an agenda, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm, I cannot be in that if it's disorganized, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to provide it. So
Yeah. No, I love the whole EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system,
I
and
do
so, like,
too.
I'm a fan of the traction and the level 10 meetings and the, like,
Yeah,
what are our decisions, and
big
that has
rock.
given me a
Yeah,
framework that ironically, the framework is giving me so much more freedom and so much more output, and it isn't
yeah,
just a meeting for a meeting that could have been an email or just, like, a quick chat across the messages, so, yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
I come from an agile background too, and I've done some study into EOS. And so, like, when I think about lean and like Six Sigma and EOS and agile, it's all like you're all getting to that same point, but what are the tools you're using, and how do you mix and match them to create guardrails?
yeah,
And especially as you're seeing AI transformation rise, and we're getting more and more around these questions of environmental concerns, monetary concerns. The token cost is rising, but we're not necessarily getting as much use out of it or
mhm,
efficiency. What does that mean for us? I think we go back to like, what are our guardrails and how do we
yeah,
work within that space? And that gives a lot of
yeah.
freedom in there.
And how do we stay in our agency of power? Because that's one of the things that I see happening with some of the clients that I work with is like they are using AI to make their time more valuable, but then they are also giving up their self-trust and they'll ask AI really basic questions that that they really just need to be asking themselves. The amount of self-trust is going
Mm-hmm.
out the window because they want it verified by some external source. And that just isn't, let's just go back to believing that maybe we're all just doing the best we can and give ourselves the benefit of the doubt and just kind of being comfortable with imperfection because like done is better than perfect and all that other shit. Like let's just go. Let's just believe in that and
Yeah.
and know that I would much rather have a real version of you than an automated one. So
Yeah.
let's granimalize all of these systems and gifts and frameworks and everything so that we and for those of you who are younger than me, like Granimals was a clothing system. It was fabulous. You'd pick out a pants that had a bear and it went with any tops that had a bear and you could just like mix and match. It was just fabulous. Like it was the only way my father could get me dressed in the 70s, like go team. So, but yes,
I
granimalize our
love that.
lives in that way. Yes.
I
So,
want to do that so badly right now
yeah.
with all of my. Can we do an adult version of that, please?
Sarah, I'm so glad that you came on today and like spend some time with us. Is there like brag on yourself a little bit? How can people connect with you? What do they need to know about you? Like what platforms? Like just spend a couple minutes explaining your awesomeness.
I am on all of the platforms at Iconoclast Innovations. We work on dejunkifying your system so that you can actually put your money, time, and effort into things that matter. We work with like solo founders, startups, small to medium businesses. We work with nonprofits, enterprise clients. We're happy to do any of that. Um, and yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. I even started putting my podcast on Substack. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited about that. I'm pretty responsive everywhere, which is maybe to my detriment. So we'll see. But yeah, just want to meet all of y'all. And, I'm excited to have been on this. And I'm glad you bullied me into this. This was great.
You know, the amount of like, bone crunching I heard when I twisted your arm, it still haunts me at night. But yes, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, but
I
yeah,
love it.
so thank you for coming on the Feral Era, and we will see y'all next week with our next amazing, wonderful, fun, fabulous conversation. And until then, just keep being amazing and keep being yourself. And thanks for joining us.
Yay.
Yay.